Hello and welcome to a Saturday morning stream or Saturday evening, afternoon, Sunday morning, depending on where you are. Earlier Saturday morning, I guess, if you're in Hawaii. It's good to see you here. I'm going to double check my audio real quick before we get started. Hey, we've got audio. Cool. If anything looks or sounds weird, just let me know. We can adjust as we go on. I've got for today's stream my YOLOBox Extreme. I wanted to do a little bit of a it's pretty much the same. Okay, stream-wise, it's basically the same setup I used last time for the stream, which is the YOLOBox Extreme, except camera-wise, it is a little bit different because today I'm using just my normal Sony full-frame mirrorless cameras. Last time I was using the YOLOBox, I was using webcams, which is super fun. I was using like the YOLOCAM S7, YOLOCAM S3, OBSBot cameras, the eMeet cameras. I was using all these, from pretty budget webcams, like $80 webcams, all the way up to like the S7, which is like a $800 webcam. And that was super fun, and I loved it, and I thought it looked great. But I did want to, there were a few people who were like, it looks good, but it doesn't look like your normal videos. And I was like, well, it's webcam. So even the best webcam, like the most expensive webcam I have, which is actually this camera. This is the OBSBot Tail 2. Hello. This is a $1,200-$1,300 webcam, PTZ webcam. This camera, at that pretty expensive price, still costs hundreds of dollars less than the lens I'm using on this camera. So, it's not an apples to apples comparison. All that to say, I really, really have fun streaming with the YOLOBox. I kind of talked about that in my last stream about it. And I was like, I really want to do a YOLOBox stream where we can, get the full quality, where it doesn't, I want to make sure that it's super clear, like you're not giving quality compromises just because you're using a thing where it's like the whole thing is just right here on the desk. That's also the webcam there. So anyway, we're doing the YOLOBox Extreme stream, but that doesn't have to be the focus of today. I have a cool thing to unbox that literally just got dropped off, I don't know, 15 minutes ago. And then we can chat about whatever and just hang out, kind of have a chill kickoff to the weekend. We do got comments, of course. And I did pin this one, but if you say hello from blank, you can pop up on the world map here, which is a cool YOLOBox feature. And you can be as specific or as vague as you want about that. You don't have to be like, hello from my home address, featuring my bank account and social security number. You can be as vague as you want, like hello from Australia, or you can be, as specific as you want, like hello from Sherman Oaks, California. Yeah, to your comfort level. But it's cool. We got a world map. As the stream goes on, we can kind of see, where everybody's from, which is super fun. So I like that a lot. Ryukin's here early, says stream is earlier than expected. When I schedule my streams, for the most part, I schedule them a little bit in advance, so that way I can if I need to go in and change some of the settings, you can schedule a stream on the YOLOBox, you can add the thumbnail, you can do the time, you can do the title, but if you want to go in and really add the description, change some of the other stream settings, if I'm streaming on my PC and I want to use, and I'm using OBS and I want to use the live chat overlay, I need to get the stream URL to put in the live chat overlay. So there's sort of things like that you need to do prepping for a stream. So I usually schedule the streams in advance just for that. And then if I'm ready, rather than just sitting here, for the arbitrary time that I chose, I just go live. I figure, I don't know how many people are sitting around the world oh, we gotta go. So it's a suggestion. But I'm glad you're here, Ryukin from Thailand. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you guys are from. Milky Way. I don't know if that'll show up on the map. I think when someone says hello, it will, when someone pops up on the map, we should see this. Actually, I have a picture-in-picture set up here. I guess I could try this. Let me see. Hello from California. Okay, let's see if I pop up and it will, I think the map will zoom in when a new person shows up. Unless it's, did I not post that? I don't know, or maybe there's too many people. Oh yeah, there's me. I don't know, yesterday I was doing a test stream and I guess because I was the only person when I did my thing and I popped up, it like, I said I was in Tokyo. It like zoomed into Tokyo and showed all the streets and stuff. But maybe when there's more than one person, it doesn't do that because it would be kind of crazy. It was cool. It was a fun feature. So that's kind of what we're doing today. Nothing too crazy. We can chat about anything, answer questions, talk about stuff. I did mention, though, that I have a fun thing to unbox, and that is in this box right here. Oh, see, this is good. I didn't expect this. It literally just got... It was one of those things where I was like, oh, is that... Wait, I'm looking at the wrong camera. Is that thing getting delivered? And I checked the tracking, and then it was like out for delivery, and I was like, oh, cool, it's coming today. And then our dog started barking because it was delivered right now. So I was like, cool, that's perfect timing because I can use that for the stream. So let's see, if we go to the OBSBot, it's not quite tall enough to like, I don't know if it's tall enough to really see what's going on in here. But what I got is something fairly exciting. You can probably just use this. Here we go. Oh, perfect. It's a Rode thing. Oh, sorry, I hit the mic. I apologize. And it is a Rodecaster Pro 2. Not a new Rodecaster, nothing like that. Just the regular Rodecaster Pro 2. Except I need. This is a very funny thing to say, but I need another Rodecaster for an upcoming project. And Rode was nice enough to send one. And they said, do you want the black one or the white one? And I was like, oh my God, the white one, please. And so that's what this is, which is super, super cool. So I'm excited to have that because it's, weirdly enough, I was like, I need an additional Rodecaster for a thing. And budget-wise, it's very nice that they helped out with that. So thank you very much. But I have this is the Rodecaster Duo back here. And it is it's the regular Rodecaster Duo. It's in black. My Rodecaster Pro 2 that I do have is it's actually a pre-release one from like 4.5 years ago. It's also in black. And then my wife Heather has a Rodecaster in her office, and she has the white Duo, and it looks so good. I've never actually even seen a white Rodecaster Pro 2. I need a knife. And I don't know, I just thought that would be really fun. And once I have used it for the projects I need it for, there's a non-zero chance it's just going to end up at my computer desk. Not because I need 4 XLR inputs over there, but just for the aesthetics. So let's see what we got here. I haven't, oh no. Oh, it's a box in a box, I think. The packaging is different from my last one. All right, yes, a box within a box situation. So this is not like an updated, just to be clear, there's no like new Rodecaster Pro 2 or anything. This is just the regular one. Power supply, yes. Oh, it's so pretty. All right, what do we got in here? We can, let's see, we can zoom in here. Oh man, I'm not gonna lie. The white is very cool. And I noticed they started doing this almost like guitars, where now, they didn't do this when the Rodecaster Pro 2 was originally launched, but now you get like your quality control card where it shows everything that was checked. So that's cool. What is this? June 27th. So that's a pretty new production bit. Oh, this is beautiful. Oh my God. Dang. I know the only difference is that it's white, but it makes it feel like a totally different thing. Plus I'm actually curious to take this and compare it to the Rodecaster Pro 2 that I have, which, like I said, is a pre-production model from, I think I got in April of 2022. And I just want to know, like, did they change anything? Because I know there's been, like, there have been, like, firmware things and a few minor hardware things they fixed over the past, like, 4.5 years. But it's, it's the same device. overall. So I'm curious. And, oh, this is really nice. I want to plug it in so I can see the lights. Because that's the whole point. So let's see. I think I have the power thingy in here. Oh, wow. They give you a high-speed USB now. That's cool, even though you don't really need it for the Rodecaster because you're not doing... Oh, unless it's for Rodecaster Sync to connect it to the video, and maybe that matters more than... I don't know, that's cool. It was really nice when everything in the world like switched to USB-C or slowly migrated over to that. But now the problem is every time I pick up a USB-C cable, I'm like, is this a high-speed cable? Is this a slow-speed cable? What can I just use this for like charging a device? Can it even charge the device I'm trying, you know, like now it's almost like I need to get rid of anything that's not a high-speed cable just to not have that issue. So it's nice that a device that might not 100% require a high-speed cable now comes with one. I got to undo the twisties here. All right, let me go plug this in. Where's my nearest plug? Maybe just down here. All right, and then this. Alrighty, and then this. So let's see here. All right, we can cut to this shot. Let's see, moment of truth. Very satisfying click right there. There we go. I just want to see all the lights. Let's go. Where is it? Takes a minute to boot up. Lights. Lights. There it is. Oh, yeah. Watch if I turn off my... I don't want to drop this. That would be terrible. There we go. Look at that. Oh, we got to go through the setup. Oh, dang. Because I want the pads to go on. We are going to do English. It is not 2021. What year is it? It's 2026. And it is July. Oh, it's 7-Eleven. It's Free Slurpee Day. So if you are near a 7-Eleven today, and what time is it? It is 9:27 my time. It is not UTC. Or is it? I don't know. Show date and time on home screen. Do I do that? I do. I haven't set up a Rodecaster in a very long time. Ah, okay. Boop. We got to connect to a network. Sorry, I'm not going to share my Wi-Fi. Oh, wait, here it is. Doop, 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 doop. Done. Dun, da, da, da. I'm doing all this just so I can see the sound pads, the smart pads light up, because that like completes the effect, you know. Connected. I'm sure we've got some firmware probably, but I don't need to worry about that right now. And I'm just using the Hollyland, the little Hollyland mic right now. So, okay, we're connected. That's good. And do. Done. All right. I'll just let it do its thing right there. I'm going to put my knife away. Very Australian in honor of Rode. And I guess we'll let this guy vibe and update until all the lights turn on. So anyway, I don't know. That was just fun. New Rodecaster, always exciting. Like always very, very exciting. Oh, I put the password in wrong. Let's see if I typed that correctly. All right. Let's see here. Let's catch up with a few of the... Hey, I know this town very, very well. Langley, British Columbia. If you play hockey, that means you have access to the hockey shop. Source for Sports. I just ordered a blocker from them because they have the best selection and the lowest prices, which sounds like a commercial, but it's not. I'm too short what's in the box. I know that was the... I have my OBSBot mounted, this camera here is mounted on an auto pole, and it's really at eye level, but honestly I should maybe even bump it up higher so it can be like a bird's eye view. But I just like it for streams because if I'm here doing my own thing and people ask like, hey, what are those mics on the wall? Or like, what's happening with your 3D printer? I can just control it and show like easily what's going on. Or you can set presets, you know, like I have the one that showed the connections of my YOLO box and all that kind of stuff. Oh my gosh, I cannot type. Oh, I have caps lock turned on. That'll do it. Who doesn't need another Rodecaster? I I love my Rodecasters. And the original one is still right here, which works perfectly, except I do use a lot of dynamic microphones. And since it doesn't have like super duper powerful preamps for dynamics, you need a lot of boosters. And it has good processing, but it doesn't have the same level of processing that this Rodecaster has, which I really, really love. MarineX says, I appreciate the consistency and pricing from Rode. This device is still reasonably priced. Yeah, they've done a good job. Other than the Rodecaster video lineup is confusing because it's like all over the place in terms of pricing. Like, you know, the Rodecaster Core was supposed to be budget and then it came out at a high price. And then the Rodecaster Video, like the big one, which is the most expensive one, for some reason was so cheap. It was like the same price as the Video S, which is the smaller version. It was like very confusing for like a new product that ended up being more expensive than expected and existing products that ended up being on sale. But honestly, like, and having talked to some people from Rode, that's a thing that they're not psyched about, but it's just the weird world of like everything being ridiculously expensive now, or, you know, more expensive than even before. So not ideal there. M3 Live says, basic setup question. I'm using the M1 Mac Mini. I have one of those. Is there a max number of monitors and cameras that can be added via hubs and display link? I know it's a hard question without knowing my setup. I do have the M1 Mac Mini, and I did use a dual monitor setup with display link. So the most I ever did with my Mac Mini was actually just, this is my PC now over here, but it was the same setup for my Mac Mini before. I had dual monitors. What was it? One was HDMI, one was Thunderbolt, and then when I got the Elgato prompter, that was like a third monitor through display link. So that was my Mac Mini setup. I've only ever used display link for the Elgato prompter. Display link's pretty cool because it basically lets you add another display. Like the Elgato prompter just ends up being a display on your computer, but it doesn't like count as a display. So when you're using something like a Mac Mini or especially a MacBook Pro that might be limited to like one external display or maybe two, you can add the prompter without it taking up a space of a regular external display that you want to use. So that's the most I've ever used. Cameras, what hubs have I used? I use the Camlink, and my wife Heather has the CalDigit hub. Well, she has her setup is actually mainly run off of her MacBook Pro now, but she has like the powered CalDigit setup. I used a Sonitech Echo 11, which I still have, but I use it for when I had my Mac Mini, and I ran some webcams and stuff, and I would connect some switchers like the Rodecaster or the YOLO box to that, but I never really went too hard on that. And then my PC just has the Camlink Pro, so that's what I use there. This is stuck on the network connection screen. Let's just restart it. It's from a different hemisphere. I did see a question way back before the stream started. I meant to get to this, which is how do you figure out the angle to make eye contact with your camera? And I thought this was a really cool question because when I film videos, it's pretty much the same setup. I always have like a main camera and then a secondary camera. And I've used them in different ways, and I think this might be a little like helpful tidbit to share. So what I like to do, they're different focal lengths, right? So I usually have a wide lens and a tighter lens. In this case, this is a 20 millimeter lens and this is a 50 millimeter lens. And I like that because one, it helps it from being jarring. If they were the exact same focal length, like I was using the same lens and I cut between them, it would look like a weird jump cut and it wouldn't look quite right. But having the different focal lengths differentiates them, especially because they're not at, you know, right next to each other. This camera is kind of over here, and this one's basically like a 45-degree angle over here. Pretty much just because I liked this background. The way I use them typically is, because the other thing I'll do is when I don't know what's going on with my Rodecaster setup, but I'll finish setting this up later. I think I just kept doing the Wi-Fi wrong. And I want to make sure it turns off safely. Okay, good. You're good, buddy. Here, put you over here. Oh, wait, actually, how does the white... Yeah, that's probably going to be a thing. Okay. Anyway, very important issues there. What I like to do is you have a wide shot, and sometimes in editing, I will crop in on this shot a little bit, usually like to like 140, 150 times scale. And then that is already 2 shots. And then you add another cropped in shot. Well, not a cropped in, but just a tighter shot here. And that gives you like 3 shots for versatility. But what I like to do is I use the wide shot for main points. Like I'm talking about, you know, I don't know. I can talk about this thing. Like I like to use multiple cameras in my streams. And then I use the tighter shot for more direct points. So that way, you know, there's visual interest and blah, blah, blah. And that's kind of how I differentiate. So it's like the tighter shot is more like one-on-one conversation, trying to emphasize a detail of a point. The wider shot is like broad picture, you know, you see the whole environment. It's like the general statements, kind of what I do. A thing that I used to do a lot, which I just kind of moved away from because I like the way it looks when it's like direct eye contact. But the thing I used to do was I had my main camera and I'd always talk into it, and then sometimes I would cut to my secondary camera that I was not looking into. And this was a really helpful editing trick because when you're making eye contact with your cameras, like if I'm recording a video and I'm looking at this camera, I know I'm going to be using the footage from this camera. So then usually the other thing is if I mess up and I like fumble what I'm saying, then I'll switch over to this camera or look at this camera and continue over there. So I know when I'm editing, I can switch between those. There's not going to be an awkward jump cut. But it means you're kind of planning ahead while you're filming and you're knowing which camera you're looking into. Whereas if you do the thing where you're just going here and it cuts to a camera on the side that you're not addressing, it makes it really a lot easier to cover up mistakes because you can kind of like just cut to that shot at any time, and it makes it easier to like avoid jump cuts, which there's nothing wrong with jump cuts, especially on YouTube, but it's a thing for me that I like to avoid them. And it's just kind of like an editing thing. So I don't know, that's how I do it. I'm sure there's lots and lots and lots of other ways to do it, but that's how I do it. Let's see here. They do that for high-end knives, quality control and sharpening cards. Oh yeah, that. Well, when the Rodecaster Pro 2 came out, like I said, I have like a pre-production one, and it's the one I have used. You know, the way I use it typically is my Duo is over here because that's running this whole setup, and usually I have one mic into it, but I have like so many virtual sources going through it. And then my big Rodecaster I save for like mic reviews and comparisons, or if I need to set up a podcast setup somewhere where I need more inputs. So like when I'm doing mic comparisons, I'll have the main mic I'm making the video about on like channel 1, and then I can just have several other mics on channel 2, 3, and 4, or the USB or whatever, and it's so easy to swap between them and turn processing on and off and that kind of stuff. Why was I talking about that? Oh, the quality control. Yeah, but the thing with that was when the Rodecaster Pro 2 first came out, people were saying their smart pads were like triggering on their own, or it was like if you hit the table, it would do that. And I guess, I don't know the full details, but I guess there had been like a batch of Rodecaster Pro 2s that had like faulty smart pads. They got replaced under warranty if you had that issue. Rode replaced them and stuff. And then they obviously fixed the problem because it's not a problem anymore. Hasn't been for 4 years now. But I think after that is when they started putting in the quality control cards, just to make sure that they and you know like everything has been tested. It's not just being like thrown off the assembly line and into a box, which is pretty cool. I like that. I appreciate that. 4K stream quality looks stunning. Does it come from the YOLOBOX Extreme? It does. I'm doing 4K 30, and yeah, I wanted to make sure that I gave the YOLOBOX its full, like, I wanted to use my full frame mirrorless cameras with the YOLOBOX just to emphasize that you're not compromising on video quality if you're using a device like this, so yeah. What is it exactly? Sorry, yeah, I worked on a big assumption here that everyone was like, obviously you know what a Rodecaster Pro 2 is. Rodecaster, this is the Rodecaster Pro 2. It's an audio interface mixer recorder, basically like everything you need for multi-track audio. So you can plug 4 XLR microphones, you can plug USB microphones, you can connect it to multiple devices. Then you've got your faders, you've got pads for sound effects and music clips, and even triggering, like if you wanted to trigger video switching and stuff, you can do that. And it also has a lot of virtual channels. So like back here, I have a smaller version on my PC over here. And I have like my main channel for my microphone. I have another channel for just PC audio. I have another channel for game audio, and I have another channel for like Discord chat audio. So they're all routed a little differently, what you hear in each thing. It's awesome. Roadcasters are the best. And so that's what that is. And I have this one that lives on my PC. I have the one that I use in here, but God, between now and the end of the year is shaping up to be like the busiest time I've ever experienced. And I actually like needed another Rodecaster for some projects. So that's what that is for exactly. You sold me on saving for the Rodecaster Duo in 2026. I'm using a Go XLR and waiting for the day that happened. I mean, if your Go XLR is still going, that's good. But I don't believe it's getting any more updates or anything. The Duo, look at this. We can, I'm going to use my OBSBot here to enhance the image. Let's see. Let me go here, cut to that, move my chair. There's my Rodecaster Duo. It's just a tinier version of the Rodecaster Pro, so it's smaller overall. It has 4 physical faders instead of 6, and it has 2 XLR inputs instead of 4, and it has 2 headphone outputs instead of 4 as well. But what's super cool about the Duo is internally, it's exactly the same. Exact same processing, exact same preamps, exact same virtual channels. Still has like 2 USBs, so you can connect it to multiple devices. All it is a different number of inputs and headphone outputs. And honestly, very few people need 4 XLR inputs and 4 headphone outputs. So the Duo just kind of makes sense. And the Duo does have one thing that the Rodecaster Pro 2 does not, which is a front headphone output. And that is just a 3.5 millimeter. That is super, super nice. The big Rodecaster, well, that's my website. Cool. Accidental self-promotion. The big Rodecaster doesn't have that. The original one, the one back here, does. The Duo does, but the Rodecaster Pro 2 doesn't. It has 4 1/4-inch headphones on the back, and so that's where you got to run your headphones. And it's just not quite as convenient as being able to just plug the headphone into the front, especially if you're, either the main like producer of a podcast, or in my case, you're just sitting at your computer over here using your audio. It's, I like to plug it in there, then I unplug that, plug it into my MacBook computer. I don't know. It's really nice. I like it. Oh, for the external monitor question, somebody said, I think the number of external monitors is 1 or 2, one for MacBook M1s. Yeah, the MacBooks, I think, the M1s can do 1 external monitor. The Mac Mini can do 2, but DisplayLink was the variable. I know DisplayLink can add at least 1 more, but I don't know if you can do multiple through DisplayLink. You definitely need Rode high-speed cable for the Streamer X. Yes, because that is sending a 4K video signal for sure, high speed. And that was actually something that Rode sends it with a high-speed cable, but when it came out like 3 years ago, they weren't like super clear on that. They tried to like super simplify the instructions where it was just like, 1, plug it in, get streaming. And I was like, you really need to tell people that they have to use this cable, because especially 3+ years ago, it wasn't as common. And I think a lot of people were getting their Streamer X's. They already had like a USB hanging out of their computer. They just plugged it into that and it wasn't working. And it's like, no, you got to use this like high-speed cable. So definitely required for some things. I mean, I've used them with my Rodecaster Pro audio Rodecasters, but just because that's the cable I happened to grab. Originally, they didn't come with high-speed ones, and I've definitely used those without them, and they work fine. But if you can use a high-speed cable, just use a high-speed cable, for sure. For a 4-person podcast setup, is the Rodecaster Pro 2 still needed? I was looking at the Scarlett. Wait, is it 18i20 or 18i20? The Scarlett 8i20. I mean, needed, it really depends. Like, the Scarlett it depends on what you're doing, I guess. The benefit to the Rodecaster for podcast recording is that you can have your show basically finished by the time you're done recording. So the standalone recorder, you can put your micro SD card right in the Rodecaster. You have all the built-in processing, of which every interface mixer I've tried, the Rodecaster's is so far the best. If you want to get into like opening your own, audio editing software and mixing and mastering stuff yourself because you have the skill to do that, that's kind of a different level. But for the normal person, the unskilled audio engineer who just wants to like push a button or maybe turn a few knobs and get things sounding good, the Rodecaster for me is by far the best way I've seen to do that, and the internal recording. I've only used the Scarlett 2i2, so the features could be different, but I don't believe the Scarlett does internal recording, so that's a big deal there. And obviously the Rodecaster can then do multi-track recording, multi-track exporting, USB as well. And I don't think the Scarlett has built-in processing, although it might. Focusrite might have an app. But if it does, it's definitely not as easy as the Rodecaster. So those are kind of the two things to think about. But the Scarletts are awesome. The 4th gen Scarletts they finally have preamps that are good enough to use any mic without a booster or anything. So you 4 SM7Bs, you're good to go. Mixing and matching condenser and dynamic mics are good to go. It's awesome. Let's see here. Any updates on the Rodecaster Video Duo 3D printed stand? I cannot find any other models. Oh, shoot. I was like, which one? That was somebody who watches the channel reached out and sent a design he had made. It's actually in my other room over here. It's in my other room. It's the closet of our guest room, which is where like extra gear is stored. So if you're ever a guest at our house, sorry, you can't use the closet because it's full of lights and gear. Yeah, somebody is working on a design. I mean, I could just go grab it. You'll be able to hear me while I walk away. I think it shouldn't really cut out. So if I go in here, it's the sound of me opening the closet. Here's the stand. Cool. And badoop. I just got so busy with other things, I haven't like tinkered with this anymore. But basically, yeah, what they designed, which I don't know if this is on MakerWorld or anything. It's a stand. Well, actually, I don't think this was a finalized version. This was kind of like a prototype version. How did it go? It goes like this. What's that? A little fuzzy. Yeah, it goes like this. Okay, so you have one part that is a VESA mount that goes to the back of the Rodecaster Duo, which is a small thing there. So this is basically a plate that's mounted on that. And then that sits on here or can get glued into this bottom part. And so now your Rodecaster Duo is on the top. And what this is for is the Rodecaster Video Core. For the Rodecaster Video that has no buttons on the top or anything, it's just the HDMI and XLR inputs. And now you kind of have them smushed into one device, which is kind of ideal. Like that is ultimately the Rodecaster Video that I would want, is the one where they're smushed into one device. And I mean, I wish I had them in here so you could see more easily, but it's really nice because you don't need any of the buttons on the Rodecaster Video Core. You just need the inputs, but you still have access to everything on the Rodecaster Duo. And then you can connect the two, so you can actually switch video on the Rodecaster Core on the Duo, and the Core has 2 XLR inputs, which then become accessible on the Duo. So it basically does then turn the Duo into a regular Rodecaster with 4 XLRs. So that's a cool combo that you can use without this stand, but the stand is just nice because it's a pretty elegant way of smushing them together, and then it just, sits on your desk and it's good to go. So that's a super cool design that somebody is working on. And I believe that's an unfinished version, but I hope when they're done, they put it on MakerWorld or even sell it or something, because it's really cool. Raphael, what's up? Happy Saturday. I saw you talking about Final Cut update. Final Cut got a recent update where you can finally do captions built in, like really good, like social media style captions. It's really fun. I see people saying hello from. Don't forget, if you want to add yourself to the map, oh, there you go. See, it zoomed in right here. If you just say hello from blank and your location, it will automatically throw it up on the map there, and then we can see where everyone is. Look at that. It zoomed out. I didn't do that. It did that automatically. And we can see people. I don't think we have anyone from South America yet. Or the whole African continent. We got to get it together. I was worried about how old the Rodecaster is getting, so I just purchased the Elgato Wave XLR Pro. I think I'm going to get to test out the Elgato, which I'm really excited about because I've not used it. But from what I understand, at least, they're very different devices. Like the Elgato is an interface. I don't know how many inputs it has, whereas the Rodecaster is like a standalone suite, is kind of the way to think about it. So just... one is not inherently better than the other. There's totally different devices. Simply Andy, do you stream in 2430 or 60? Yes. It changes. I don't know. I maybe have done 60 FPS like once or twice, but usually it's 24 or 30. And I have just found, for whatever reason, across everything, the exception maybe being Ecamm when I use my Mac. But when I use the YOLO box, when I use other like standalone devices, when I use OBS on my PC, even though all those things can support 24 frames per second, it just seems like things work better at 30. So I don't know if a lot of devices are kind of like 30 is the sweet spot and they have to like go out of their way to do other things, especially 24. It just feels like everything just works better and looks smoother and stays synced when I use 30. So I typically stream in 30 just for that reason. Ecamm and the Rodecaster Video have been pretty good at 24. I think Ecamm is my most reliable 24 FPS overall. And it's not that it's bad. Like I can do 24 FPS on the YOLO box right here with really no problems, but I just feel like if I do an hour and a half to 2 hour long stream, and it's in 30 FPS, it just overall looks smoother and better. I don't know, it's like, it just for some reason, maybe it's even a YouTube thing. Maybe YouTube prefers 30 over 24 for live streaming. I don't know, it's just, that's what I've done, so I've gotten in the habit of switching everything to 30 when I stream. I just gave up, Marine in the chat. Oh, hey! People who know each other in the chat. Super chat, thank you so much. Appreciate the support. Greetings from Mexico. Bought a lot of gadgets because you recommended it. Hopefully they're helpful. Hopefully they're things that are being used and not, just sitting in the closet or anything. Oh my God, you picked up on this? Are you serious? I mean, I shouldn't be surprised. I just noticed a light blue colored Starman from Earthbound. Yes. I needed to do a filament test a while back, so what better thing than a Starman figure? But that's like niche, and I know for a fact that is before your time because Earthbound is 31 years old this year. But I've been replaying it. Actually, I have the books right here. Look at that. It's almost like this was planned. It wasn't. So here we go. Final Fantasy XIV, the critically acclaimed MMORPG, is going to be available on the Nintendo Switch next month, I think. That is one of the main things that I use my PC for, and it's awesome. And even my, recently got a new goalie mask painted. That's a lot of Final Fantasy stuff on it. The problem is, I gotta sit here. So the idea of being able to, use it on the Switch was really cool. The Switch is going up in price, availability is weird, so last month I was like, ooh. My wife Heather's had a Switch 2, oh wow, for like a year already maybe? And I was like, okay, I definitely want one for Final Fantasy. I'll get one now while they are the cheapest they're gonna be and available. So I got that, and in waiting for that, naturally the first game I played on on the newest handheld console was a 30-year-old 8-bit, I guess it's technically 16-bit, video game, which was Earthbound, because you can get the SNES game pack or whatever basically for free on the Switch, and Earthbound is in there. And I played Earthbound a couple years ago, but I wanted to do a replay. So I did that, and what's really fun, Earthbound is such a good game. That was it wasn't the first RPG I ever played. I think it was the second, but it was the first one that I played Chrono Trigger was my first RPG because that's my wife Heather's favorite one. since the day we met, she's been talking about Chrono Trigger, and I was like, okay. A couple years ago, my brother-in-law gave me this for Christmas, which is an analog pocket. So it's super cool. This can play Game Boy cartridges, but full-on like, was it like OpenFPGA emulation inside? So it can't, I think it can kind of do some PS1 games maybe, but otherwise anything else that's like any of the Game Boys, regular Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Genesis, like all that stuff, you can just throw in like, I don't even understand how it works, but it's like the ultimate version of emulation that's like not really emulation. I don't know how it works, but it's a very good experience. And obviously it's a modern device, so it has like a really good battery, good sound, awesome color screen. It's really nice. So I played Earthbound and stuff originally on this. I wanted to play it on the Switch too, which the Switch, when you play the NES games, it also has a rewind feature. So if you mess up, you just like hold down the triggers and then you can just kind of go back and like redo your thing. Super cool. But what I wanted to do, Earthbound is like such a cult classic game. If you go to, I could actually even show you, check this out. Let me find this. Nintendo's always been a little bit weird with Earthbound, but when it first came out back in 1995, 94, it came with this big strategy guide. And actually, here, I can stream just from my phone because we live in the future, and that's cool. Doop. Let's see. It should. Oh, it is. Look at that. Boom. There we go. So this is just my phone. I just searched Earthbound Strategy Guide, and do we have audio here, or it's not phone audio? Let me just make sure. Sometimes the NDI stuff throws itself in as an audio source. Okay, I don't think it's doing that. But anyway, if you click on that, Nintendo actually hosts the original PDF, which was this huge guide that came with, 135 pages of like the original giant strategy guide, which is so cool. And see, they even have like these photos of the characters aren't, well, you know what we can do on the YOLO box? No, you know what? We'll keep things simple. I was gonna add like an overlay so you could see what I'm talking about. The figures, they're not drawings, they're actually like clay figures that they took photos of, and it goes through everything, which is pretty cool. The reason I bring that up is because when I replayed Earthbound, I found this from fangamer.com, which is the Earthbound, it's like the unofficial version, because this is out of print, which is why you can get it as a PDF on Nintendo's website. You can get, bootleg versions on eBay or whatever. But Fangamer like did their own version from scratch. Like, this is such an incredibly well done book, and it's kind of like a strategy guide. Like, there's like a magic eye photo in here. There's a scratch and sniff component. It's crazy. But what's really cool about this, let me see, and they use all real artists and stuff, but they did, I don't know if you can see here, they did these like images throughout at like the different chapters, and there's certain points where you see like, it looks just like the original strategy guide where you see like figures of the characters, and it is the original figures they use. I can't find an example here, but they actually got like the original ones from the original strategy guide and then use them to take new photos and stuff for this, which is super cool. Anyway, I just finished my replay of Earthbound recently. That's where that's this whole thing came from, was just the comment about the 3D printed Starman over there, which looks cool. He's not officially that color in the game. I just like that color. And now I'm replaying. So I did that on the Switch too, but now on here, because it was never released really officially in the US, I'm playing Mother 3, which is the sequel to Earthbound. The naming thing is a whole thing. But there's another book for Mother 3 by Fangamer. And this one's pretty cool because Mother 3 never had a strategy guide like Earthbound did. So that's almost like this companion piece that like enhances the gameplay, whereas this takes the place of the strategy guide, which is very cool because both games are really fun, but the story in Mother 3 goes like, there's a lot. And so it just makes it like a way more like rich experience of enjoying the games and having fun. So anyway, that's why that's there. I'm very impressed that the person who is one of the younger in the chat picked up on like the oldest reference in the room. That's awesome. Almod says, I'm new. 3 days of 3D printing. Can I use any filament? I have PLA Basic only. That depends on your printer. So let's hop over to the OBSBot here and zoom out and go to my P2S. I know we were talking about games. We're not talking about the PS2. We're talking about the P2S. So if you have an enclosed Bambu printer, for the most part, yes, you can use any filament. PLA is the easiest. It's just pretty much always the easiest. But this will print, for the most part, pretty much anything, especially, anything, unless you get into really specialized, like composite filaments or whatever. You can even print ABS on that, although you got to worry about like ventilation and stuff if you're doing a lot of ABS. But it does work. If you have another printer like the X2D that then has active heating and all that stuff, then you have even, more, I don't want to say more options, but more reliability when it comes to stuff like ABS. I'm slowly, sorry, my brain was breaking because I'm trying to get over here. I have my A2L over here. Just ignore this clutter of mess. If the printer you got is an open printer like this, then it's best really not to try like ABS. PLA, PETG, those are kind of the better ones here because you're not controlling the temperature around it very much. It's just kind of open, and PLA is going to be the easiest for something like that. But if you let me know what printer you have and maybe what you're thinking of printing on it, maybe we can kind of get more specific. But if you have an enclosed Bambu, you can do, for the most part, pretty much anything, and you're good to go. Are you worried about your current views compared to the high of the COVID lockdown? No. I mean, COVID is a thing, like the whole world is inside, they can't go anywhere. So it makes sense that more people would be watching stuff online versus, 6 years later when people are back out in the world, right? So yeah, that, it's kind of like, I don't know the example, but like if there's like a public pool that's like, if you ask them in the wintertime, like, are you concerned about the lack of swimmers versus 4th of July weekend in the summer or something? It's like, well, no, there's kids are out of school. There's gonna be more people here in the summertime when it's warm and everyone has time off versus the winter when it's cold and everyone's working and in school. So it's just, different things and different niches. Like, the camera world has changed. The streaming world has changed. The world has also just changed compared to, 6 years ago now, which is crazy. I'm using OBS and Riverside for my multi-cameras as I have a Pixie, OBSBot Tiny, and Logitech C9 II. That's awesome. I love that you're using all of those cameras together. What are your room dimensions? Yes, so don't let the wide angle lenses fool you. This is not a massive space. This is, I always forget, I think it's 12 by 12? 12 by 12 or 12 by 10. It's a little tricky because there's, I think the room itself is 12 by 12 as like a square, but there is, what I'm looking at right here, there's a closet and that, bumps out 2 feet maybe from the wall. So, and it kind of like is an oddly shaped thing. So there's a little bit less. So roughly 12 feet by 12 feet, which is what, 4 meters by 4 meters, roughly. Not a huge space. I mean, it's bigger than like my childhood bedroom by far. So not big space, but it's funny. My wife Heather and I were just talking about this. We're lucky that our house has a really big backyard, and a lot of people where we live have swimming pools. We don't have the budget for a swimming pool or really the desire to like deal with the maintenance, or like having a pool would be cool on a day like today when it's gonna be 108 degrees and it's like, let's go out to the pool. The rest of the time it would be a nightmare. But a thing we've been kind of tinkering with is like, I've seen people do like, they're not sheds, but they're not like tiny homes. They're like modular structures that people put like in their yards as like home offices and stuff. And we're kind of like, is that something in the realm of possibility? Like, is that something you could do that would be bigger than this space? I mean, financially, I have no idea how that would work. Hello, sponsors. But just in a dreamland, like, would it be possible to put something that's like twice this size out there? Because that could actually be kind of worth looking into. But you know, there's so many like cost aside, which is a whole issue. Then there's like regulations and zoning and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know how that works, but that's something we've been kind of like joking about and talking about. I'm super happy and I feel super lucky to have this space and this much space. But you know, as you can see, it gets a little bit full and a little bit crowded at times, and I have regularly injured myself. I have a, which knee is it? I have a cut on one of my knees from actually my little, the 3D printed remote holder that's mounted on the bottom of the desk here sliced my kneecap open the other day. You know, I broken my toes stubbing them in here. I hit my head all the time. So it, you know, it's not glamorous, but I like it. It's fun. I like being in here. What's the best lens for 26 inches to 50-inch overhead table views? You know what, I guess my first question should be, what camera are you using and how, like, are you trying to do like an overhead view of like a game where you need like kind of a wide thing? Are you trying to do like zoom in on like really small details? And it depends on your camera as well, because you know, if you're using a crop sensor camera or a webcam with an even smaller sensor versus a full frame camera, you know, that depends. But my favorite top-down lens for a long time has actually been this one, which is the Tamron 20-40, because it's a 2.8 lens, which is awesome. 20-40 is pretty versatile. When possible, I used to put this on my A7 IV, now it'd be my A7 V, because then you have the 35 you have the crop, the 1.6 times crop. Super 35, that's what it is. I think not 35 millimeter, the Super 35 crop. So that way this 20-40 then becomes like, you know, a 35 to 60-ish, something like that. So you get a little more reach in it. And the key to this is this lens does not creep. So where you leave it is where it stays. Some other lenses, let's see. I love this lens, so I'm not ragging on it. This is my old school Canon 24-105. This lens, I don't know if you can see it, but if you like leave it zoomed out and hanging down, it will slowly over time just go all the way to 105. Like the weight of it, it just kind of keeps zooming. So if you want a zoom lens that's versatile, something that doesn't have lens creep, I believe is the term for that, which sounds so derogatory, but it just like the lens keeps kind of like creeping. And the Tamron 20-40 has never had that problem for me. So that is kind of, the other thing I use honestly though a lot is, which isn't like as good as my big cameras, but I use this as an overhead camera a lot. This is the Sony ZV-1F, which actually just has a 20 millimeter prime lens. It doesn't even have like an optical zoom, but you can digitally zoom in. And I ended up using this a lot as an overhead camera because it's so lightweight and just easy. But if you want the best image quality, obviously an interchangeable lens camera is definitely the way to go. Will the Extreme ever be able to work with Instagram or vertical? Can it not do? I thought there was an update where it could. Because there is, I don't know if I have this or if I gave it away. I gave it away. YOLObox has a device called the InStream, which is it's a small vertical YOLObox. But I thought there was an update recently that let this go. Let's see here. I do have this setup as well, so you can see my YOLObox. Currently, you know, if I add a new destination, yeah, I'm not seeing Instagram. I swear I thought that was a thing, but maybe I'm just crazy or I misread something. I thought that was added. So, I don't know. I feel like that's something they would definitely want to do, right? Joey got the P2S combo because of me. Never 3D printed before. Is the market oversaturated? Should I spend time learning CAD? These are great questions. Is the market oversaturated? I think it depends what you mean. If for hobbyist printers, like you just want to get your printer and start printing and having fun, there's no limit, right? Like that's like You know, like, is the market for like guitarists oversaturated? It's like, well, if I want to be a professional guitarist, that's never going to happen. But if I want to play guitars and bass in my room here and have a lot of fun doing that, there's no limit to that. Like, that's just as much as I want. So if you're trying to use 3D printing for sales, like you're trying to sell, you know, print stuff that people will buy, I do think there is a saturation for like tchotchkes and knickknacks, right? Like you go to a crafts fair and everyone has the 3D printed dragons. I don't know that there's a huge market for like more 3D printed dragons and stuff. But I was actually just talking to one of my friends about this yesterday. There is a market for original designs, both fun and practical, that people can print. The amount of people willing to pay for those designs is obviously much smaller than the amount of people who have 3D printers and ready to print. But there are things, the reason I was talking about this because it was a friend who has on their Maker World profile, they, I didn't even know this is like what boosting does, but if you have a Maker World profile, maybe I can even just show you. Let me bring up mine and see how that works. I don't know if I'm still streaming. Boop, boop. Okay, it should pop up. We'll see how that goes. Maker World. Okay, cool, yeah. So here's my Maker World thing here. If I click on me, you know, here's all the like stuff, I guess. But if I click on my models, here are like the designs I have uploaded to Maker World, which like I have not made anything that's gonna get like crazy downloads or anything, but it's just stuff it's the stuff I've made with my super limited skills. But if you go here, like I can go to these notifications. Oh, see, I got a boost token that's about to expire. I got 4 boost tokens left. Oh, so here, the Starman from Earthbound, I already boosted that. What else have I not boosted that I really like? See, I've boosted all the stuff that I really like. I mean, I guess I could boost things again. Do I have like a favorite print? Oh, this one is really good. I like that spool. I'm gonna boost that. I'm working on this, so I'll boost that. I don't want my tokens to expire. So anyway, basically what that means, and what I'm doing there is, I didn't even know, I thought boosting just made stuff more visible, but apparently, if you upload designs to Maker World, and you make them exclusive to Maker World, which I don't even think I'm eligible to do that. I think you have to upload designs that get a certain number of downloads, and then it's like YouTube monetization. Once you hit watch time hours, you can get monetized. Kind of the same thing on Maker World. Once you have like a certain number of downloads or something, you can then upload exclusive models. And if you have an exclusive design where it's only available on Maker World and somebody boosts it, I think you get like $1 or something like that. Somehow you get paid. I've seen people talk about how they use that to buy their filament, they use that to buy printers, or I believe you can even just cash it out. The friend I was talking to yesterday was like, I earned like $500 off this like random design that I made. And I was like, that's crazy. I didn't know that's how boosting worked. So I just bring that up for like, maybe that's a way where it's like people aren't paying for your designs, but it's almost like affiliate revenue. You are earning money potentially from your designs, but you know, how much are you gonna earn, how consistently? Like, it's probably best to get into the printing side of things just for fun, for the enjoyment of it, for the fun of it. Whether or not you should learn CAD, you know, that also depends on your skill set and what you're comfortable with. I do think it's valuable as someone with very basic CAD skills that is trying to learn and be a little bit better. I do think it's worth it, you know, but I don't think it's something you should feel like you have to jump into if you're literally just like unboxing your printer and setting up things and printing for the first time. Now trying to do this whole other thing might be overwhelming. I'll show you the design, well, the couple designs I'm most proud of. Let me go grab it. It's in the same room where the other thing was. Where is it? Here it is. This. And do I have all my versions of it? Oi, I'm dropping things as you can hear. Okay, I have different versions. So I just wanted to show you like This is the height of my CAD design skills at the moment. But it's kind of actually relevant to what we talked about before. So here we go. This is what I've got. This is an under desk mount for the Rodecaster Video Core. So the thing that goes in this, stand, this is a better idea. But if you just have the Rodecaster Video Core and you just want it mounted under your desk, I have my video about this, and actually it should be, I might have a photo of how it works here. Oh, is it not, am I not streaming anymore on that? Nutso. The screen streaming thing likes to turn off randomly, it seems. Start, boom. Okay, now I think we're back here. So models, yeah, it's this, the Rodecaster Video Core under desk mount. So that's kind of what it looks like. That's how it works. Some of the basic things here. But, and it literally, it's just like a U bracket, like it's not anything crazy. But this was my first design I made in Fusion. Which is I've used Tinkercad since about 2016, which is free online browser-based CAD design stuff, and it's actually pretty great. But I wanted to learn something a little more like, I guess just a little more polished, and Fusion is the one that I decided to go with, so I've been trying to learn Fusion, which there is a free version as well, so yeah, that's cool. And it was fun to make this design. I was like, okay, the Rodecaster Video Core is this device that does not need to take up space on your desk because it has no buttons. So mounting it under a desk makes a lot of sense. Let me make a mount for it. So that's what I made here. And then I think this one was like a little bit too big and it was also too narrow. So I was like, okay, we need to make it wider. So let's do a wider version. And then, I don't know, there was like 3 or 4 iterations. Eventually, what I ended up with was this version, which looks really simple, but I'm proud. Look at these design elements I'm proud of. One, things I couldn't do in Tinkercad, which is just that, you know what, let's use the OBSBot here. I love the zoom on the Tail 2. It's so nice. Okay, so one of the things is, wow, look at that, enhance. Oh no, but it wants to focus on the plant. No, focus on this. These corners, they're not like just right angles, they're kind of rounded corners. I really like that. I also really like, so yeah, and the same goes here with these vents, which line up with the vents on the side of the Rodecaster Video Core, which is, keep in mind, a video capture device, audio video capture device, so it generates heat, it needs ventilation, which means that when I was, making a mount for it, it couldn't block that, so we had to keep those in mind there. I did the screw holes here, which, I made sure to keep access, little things like if you've made 3D designs, you're like, hi, welcome to like baby's first 3D design. But if you've never done it before like me, it was, this was kind of cool. So making sure that like, if you needed to use these screw holes, this wasn't blocking the way. They're also, I forget what it's called, but not beveled, like chamfered? I don't know what it's called. But the screws will sit flush with these when you go in because there's like a little bit of that shape to it. And then I put a little headphone rack here, so that's what that is. This mounts there. You've got your interface. You can hang your headphones. Boop. You hang your headphones right next to it, and then that's good to go. And so that's why I wanted to make sure that the headphone hanger didn't block the screw holes. And then I also made another version that does not have the headphone hanger. So really basic, really simple, but pretty niche, like. It's for people who have this one specific audio device that specifically want to mount it in a certain location and also have a 3D printer. So, that's a Venn diagram where there's not a lot of overlap there versus something like, the person who designed this Starman figure, like, okay, how many nerds who play Earthbound own 3D printers? Probably a much bigger overlap between those like gaming nerds, 3D printer people. It's almost a circle, like that overlap there. So something, the designs that you make, the appeal that they have might be broader in some cases than in other cases. And I did want to show, I'm using my phone for the browser today just because I don't have my computer hooked up here to show browser. Oops, wait. Okay. I forgot what start and stop meant for a second, and I was going backwards. The other thing, though, that I've designed, which I think is probably my most popular design on Maker World, it's not picking it up. Ah, nuts. Maybe I messed that up. I started and stopped it too many times. The NDI camera app works really well, but the NDI like screen capture one is a little fussier. It's probably for the best. Like, I don't know if you want your phone screen just, you know, sent out and captured all the time. There, I think we're working now. Boop. Yeah, the most popular design I have on Maker World, I don't think I've never gotten any boosts, is this one here, which is the Govee rope light thing. So this light back here, this is a Govee strip light that kind of goes all the way down there, and I don't know if you can see, it goes from the ceiling to the floor, and then it's long enough to go behind this desk here. So I used to have a big tube light there, which was cool, but it was so hard to turn on and off because I had to like crawl under my desk and get to the switch, and it was just this whole thing. So this is much easier. I just have a remote control. Look at this cool thing it does. I like turn it on, it'll go. That's cool. So it can, you know, it can do any color. You can do the RGB rainbow, all that kind of stuff. Which usually when I do videos, I have it set to just do like a regular solid white, cool white. So that way it's not constantly changing the color temperature in the room or being distracting, because some people I know don't want to watch a video that has a flashing light. Anyway, my wife Heather got one of these for her office at the start of last year, and it came with these great little plastic clips. And I was like, oh, these are so awesome. They kind of look like these little clips right here. And I was like, it's such a great way to mount these, because so many of these LED strips, they come with like, you know, they just come with sticky, like, and they always fall down. And so that was a big reason I ended up getting this. When I got mine like 7 or 8 months later, they stopped making it with those clips, and I didn't even see it, but on the listing page on Amazon, they literally wrote like, as of September 2025, we use a different mounting system, which is just the sticky tape, which doesn't work because it just, especially on textured walls, just falls off. So I was like, dang it. So I took some of her clips that came with her original one, and I used that. I did this just in Tinkercad, and I just made them and printed them so I could mount them up here, and they worked great. So it solved the problem. And, you know, like, this isn't a lot of people, but you can see 40 people have downloaded this one, which is like, that means there are 40 other people who had 3D printers and had this specific Govee light thing that they bought at that specific time frame where they needed that specific mounting thing. So that's cool. Anyway, the question was, is the market saturated for 3D printing? Should you learn CAD? I think you should come from a place of fun and passion, enthusiasm to start with, and whatever that is. If that means you're just printing existing models because that's really fun for you, you should do that. If that means you want to learn to print your own stuff, you should do that. If you print existing models and then you think this model's awesome, but if it were just changed a little bit, it would be cool. You know, like a lot of learning the CAD stuff comes from necessity. Like, I really want to change this, or I have this idea and I have to do it myself. Yeah, so I think it's worth it. I've really been enjoying Fusion as my like step out of the Tinkercad universe. Is the hole in your left, wait, do I have a hole in my sock? Oh, is it this? This is a logo. I don't know if that's what you're talking about or not, but there we go. Sometimes OBS, Virtual Camera, and Riverside might stop immediately, and I'm not set to get a road video or something. Okay, so you're sticking with your current setup, which is OBS, Virtual Camera, and Riverside. I'm wondering why. I mean, the mic you're using, anything you're using with OBS shouldn't affect the virtual camera. I'm curious with this. When you say it stops immediately, is OBS like turning off the virtual camera, or is Riverside dropping the signal, or both? Because I don't think I've used OBS's virtual camera with Riverside, so I should test that out. But I use OBS's virtual camera a lot, and I've never had it turn off on its own. So much so that I usually forget that it's on, and then when I go to shut down my computer, I get the warning of like, virtual camera, are you sure? Like, oh shoot, it's been on for like 2 days. So I'm curious exactly what's happening. Do you currently have your M1 and PC setup connected to cameras, switch back and forth between them easily, like from OBS to Ecamm? Kind of, sort of. So I used to have my M1 Mac Mini here. That was like the desktop setup. And then when I got this PC last summer, I was using the PC a lot. And what I ended up doing was I turned off the Mac Mini and I was like, I'm gonna see how long, what camera I'm on. I'm gonna see how long I can go till I turn on the Mac Mini again. And I never turned it back on. So I was like, okay, I can rip out like most of the cables and the mess and the chaos over here and just have a nice clean setup. And so that's what I did. And so I still have my Mac Mini because it has like files and important things on it. And I've had to use it once or twice in the time since, like separately. But I have my MacBook Pro, which is like my main editing computer and stuff, and has Ecamm on it. So this computer has the Elgato Camlink Pro, so it's a 4 HDMI capture card, 4K HDMI capture card in there, and I really love that. And it has a camera that's pretty much always set here, so that way it's always ready to go. There's a Rodecaster, a camera, capture cards. There's always at least one HDMI camera connected. I have my OBSBot Tiny 3 right here, so there's one USB webcam connected, and that's like always like that. And then I can easily add more if I want to, and I use OBS on there. When I'm streaming on my Mac, I use Ecamm. If I could get Ecamm will never be on a PC because it needs a Mac to do the magic that Ecamm does. But if I had the option to use it on a PC, I would. But I actually really have been liking OBS a lot. So I use that there, and then I use Ecamm on my Mac. I either usually use the Rodecaster Video for that if I need multi-stuff, or usually lately, because I could also use this YOLO box for 4K, and there's some other fun 4K stuff in the works, but usually lately when I've been streaming with my MacBook, I do that for simplicity's sake, so I only have like one camera connected, and I usually just use, where is it? I usually just use the good old like regular, old school single input Camlink 4K, and it works great. So it's pretty easy to switch. I mean, in terms of switching between them, like I'm not unplugging camera. Like usually if I'm using my MacBook now, I set that up for that individual thing, kind of like I did with the YOLO box. Like this usually isn't here in the middle of the space the whole time. I was like, oh, I want to stream with the YOLO box. Let me connect this camera, that camera, and we'll be good to go. Whereas on the PC, that at least has these two cameras, one mirrorless camera with the prompter, one PTZ webcam, and audio always set up and always ready to go with OBS. And it works great. Is there a reason you don't use 18:9? Oh yeah. I would say from like 2018 to 2021-ish, I used to put my videos in the 18:9 aspect ratio, which was really good for phones, because phones are, I cannot remember. I need a tally lamp to know which cameras are on. Phones are, wider than 16:9, and so what that will do, when you're playing a YouTube video, you can like pinch to zoom in and it will fill the frame, but you're cropping out the edges of the video. And sometimes that messes with captions or framing or whatever. And so by using 18:9, it more natively filled up a lot of phone aspect ratios. So I was doing that a lot. Plus I like wide aspect ratios. So I just like the way that it looked. It's fun to frame stuff in that. And I don't know, I just liked it. I stopped doing it, there's not like a real reason, like half laziness, half vague practicality. Because when you do that, you have to like reframe every shot. I'm filming in 16:9, so everything I'm putting on the 18:9 timeline has to be kind of cropped in and reframed, which I have presets, but when you make hundreds of videos and you have to do that for every clip, eventually that adds up to be a pretty significant chunk of time. And then the other part, so it's much easier just to take like the 16:9 footage, drop it on a timeline, and it's done. But the other part is phones are so many crazy aspect ratios now. Like, some phones are super like long, some are foldable devices. So it's like, it's a lot less clear like what aspect ratio is what than it was just a few years ago. And also, the number of people watching YouTube on a television is bigger now than it's ever been. In some cases, I'll put out videos where most people watch them on a TV. So TV's typically 16:9 aspect ratio, and they're huge now. You know, we go to Walmart and buy like an 80-inch TV for $500. So I just figure if someone might be watching a video on a giant screen, I want it to fill the screen and not look like it's accidentally letterboxed and then they get confused and that kind of thing. So anyway, that's the reason. I actually really like the 18:9 format and I like the wide thing, but that's the reason. It's cool that you noticed that though. I think that's awesome. Ryukin has plans for Vivo V5 and Samsung Core Prime. Okay, I was like, I don't know what those are. The Vivo will be camera B, handheld, and POV for liminal spaces. Oh, sorry. I don't know why I was assuming you're talking about live, and I was like, how are we doing handheld liminal spaces live? Pre-recorded. Yes, this makes sense. And especially, I don't know, for vibey, the vibey type stuff that I feel like you'd be into, I think that's a good idea. Hello from Washington. Don't forget. Oh my God, I just learned something. When the map zooms in, it's because I have selected that comment. I thought it was a random thing. Oh my goodness. That is so cool. And then it'll stay there. I don't know how long it stays there, but it's there. You can, if you want to put a Q in front of your question, you can, but you don't have to. Actually, I have nothing on the YOLO box right now that's going to like filter out Q versus non-Q, other than it helps me see that you're asking a question and it's not just chat with other people. Which of your printers do you use the most right now? I honestly probably use them all pretty equally. The P2S lives in here, at least now for the time being. So I've been using that a lot just because it tends to be like right next to my computer. And the reason for that is because the X2D, well, I have space for 2 printers in like the extra room that is the printing room. So the H2C is so big, it's too big to fit in here, it needs to go in there. And then I had the X2D in here because I thought it would be cool for videos, and I actually like having a printer in here for videos, so it's easier. I don't have to like unplug it and carry it. It's just on this wheeled cart and I can just wheel it out. And to me, it kind of made sense to use the X2D for that because it has like a few more capabilities so I can cover more in videos. But here's a very niche problem. You see how the side of this printer is solid? The X2D has a narrow like window on either side, which I actually really like. In my video on the X2D, I was like, it's so cool. I love being able to look in the printer. When I'm filming stuff about printers, I love being able to do that and like see that. But let me not run over these cables that are now here. When I sit here and I'm at my computer, the printers have lights inside of them. And through the window of the X2D, the internal light of the printer is literally just like shining in my eye like the sun the whole time. And so it became so uncomfortable to have it there. I swapped out the P2S, which has solid sides, doesn't blind me, and the X2D is in the other room. So the P2S is here because it's the one that's next to the computer. Oftentimes it's just the first one I go to. And then the other thing too is just the filament. Like sometimes it's literally just which filament is connected to which printer and I use that. But I would say overall, I probably use them pretty equally, pretty evenly. And I like all of them. The one I use, I still do have the A2L over here because I need to tinker with the cutting head on that. I love the closed printers, and then that one is being donated to a school as soon as I tinker with the cutting head thing, which I was kind of supposed to do. Not supposed to, but I told the teacher who's taking it, I was like, yeah, I should have it by the end of June, and now it's July 11th, so I feel bad about that. How do you use DLNP on your live streams? I don't think I do because I don't know what that is. So if you tell me what it is, maybe I'm using it and I don't know that I'm using it. We did that one. I do live streams with 4 people painting. That sounds awesome. And a mic on the producer switch for my iPad with mix effect and the ATEM Extreme ISO. I want to do 4K live stream. What would you go, YOLO or Ecamm? Well, I mean, Ecamm's great. The problem with that, though, is what 4K capture card are you using? And to do 4 4K HDMI inputs on a Mac does get a little tricky. You probably would need something like a Blackmagic Decklink and an external housing, and now that's another like $700. So, which I guess if you're gonna use a switcher, but that's on top of the Ecamm, subscription, which honestly that wouldn't be, that would actually be cheaper than a YOLObox Extreme, so it's not that crazy. See, this is why it's good to talk about these things, because you find the nuances. So you could do that, and then you have just Ecamm, which you can use a Stream Deck, you can use a keyboard, an MMO mouse to trigger or whatever. The YOLObox, obviously, you have this type of setup, right? Like, this is the whole thing. You have cables, so unless you're using some kind of wireless HDMI or whatever, you're going to have your cables coming out of the YOLObox, but otherwise, that's kind of there. For 4K, those are some pretty good options. OC did announce the Omni at NAB back in April. That's 4K, and then there's the oh my gosh, the name is slipping my mind, but it's super cool. Pixelgate. The Pixelgate is a really cool 4K switcher, but I don't know that that would be ideal for what you're doing, because if you're doing multiple painters and it's like, what I'm picturing when you describe your workflow is a lot of multitasking, taking care of the production side of things while also like doing the craft and having conversations. And so you want something that's going to take up as little space as possible, and you can, I'd kind of lean towards YOLObox, to be honest with you. It's easy, as you can see, and you can use the YOLO deck, which is like a Stream Deck made specifically for this, if you want to have this like sitting off to the side, and then you just have those physical keys right there to adjust. And then this can also be a capture card. So if you, so if you want to then plug this via USB into your computer and use it with Ecamm, OBS, whatever, you could do that. And this is now your multi-input. This has 8 HDMI inputs, 5 of them are 4K. So it's pretty sweet. Oh, see, now we go to the map and we have people who are saying, hello, we got, I didn't zoom in on that one, but we got Africa on the map here. Turns on VPN. Hello from Africa. There we go. Hello from Australia. Oh, I like this zooming in thing. This is fun. I didn't realize it was when I tapped the comment. Arkansas. Hey, I was just in Tempe, Arizona last month for a hockey camp. Oh man, I'm behind on the comments. I'm sorry, but it is what it is. Earthbound soundtracks. Yes, absolutely fantastic. Would you be interested in making a video on professional tube cameras? Are those like the old school ones? I think I might know what you're talking about. And I may have used one in the past. Let me see. What is it? Ikegami. Yes, okay. So, what we're kind of talking about here are old school like broadcast cameras. Where I encountered these was I worked at a TV station, a local TV station from 2001 to 2006-ish, in varying capacities, and they had a bunch of old school cameras, Ikegami cameras. What I remember is they were really fun to use. And I remember the engineering department of the TV station, you'd go in, it was like a workshop, and there were always cameras like disassembled and being worked on and stuff back there. Tubes scare me though. I don't know. Like, I feel like I would just break stuff, but it would be fun. I have right over you, I have all my old cameras, my XL1, my Sony ENG cameras, my GL2, all that stuff is right there. And I love old cameras, but I've never used a tube camera like that, which is cool. Any ideas if there's a Rodecaster Pro 3 releasing this year? I did a video on this recently, like actually, I think the title is The Rodecaster Pro 2 is Old Now, because it's 4.5 years old. The original Rodecaster, 20, was updated after 3 years. And I think the original thought was when Rode released the Rodecaster Pro 2, they were like, for sure we're gonna do firmware updates for 24 months, so 2 years. And now it's 4.5 years ago. But the thing is, there's just nothing, I don't really know what you would change about it, other than folding in more video capabilities and kind of turning it into a different device, which I would actually really love. But that's a different device. The original Rodecaster, it had specific needs. There was a processing power limit for that one. So I mentioned this in my video, but if you remember, towards the end of the firmware updates, there was a beta firmware update that had reverb, just a reverb effect. It was fun and people were excited about it. And then when they finalized that firmware and put it out, the reverb effect was gone. And it's my understanding that that reverb effect was the ceiling. It was like, that was where now things are not staying reliable, and that's like the max amount of processing power. Because when the original Rodecaster came out, what it was designed to be was a podcast recorder, a multi-track podcast recorder. Let's enhance and zoom in. Let's do some CSI camera work here. Enhance. Yeah, when this came out, this was designed to just be a multi-track podcast recorder. So you plug in 4 microphones, 4 headphones, you record, you can play sound effects, you can do some basic processing, and you're good to go. And that was the original design, or the original intent. But what people ended up doing with this, myself included, is using it for video and using it for live streaming and all this other stuff. And so I got that. I bought that on launch day. Like, I pre-ordered it, had it when it came out. And I don't remember, I mentioned this all in my video, but which maybe I even have that info here. Here's my very advanced video organization situation here. Let's see here. Here we go. The original Rodecaster had 6 to 10 major firmware updates. And what those did is they changed that thing so much. Like, it is not the same device now that it was when it was released. And the last firmware update was literally like the most it could handle. So the Rodecaster Pro 2, when Rode needed to update it, it was out of necessity. The internals of the Rodecaster Pro 2, I believe, are 16 times as powerful as the original Rodecaster. And I don't think they've hit that limit yet. Like, they built in way more processing power to this than they need, specifically because they learned the lesson of, we don't know where this is going to go. Like, we have our intentions for how we think people would use it, but when people actually get them and use them, what does that look like? We want to be able to adapt. I'm sure they saw video podcasting being a thing on the horizon as well, and that probably being, something to keep in mind. I did all this. Yeah, the Rodecaster Pro 2, since its release, has gotten 15 major firmware updates. Actually, that might be more, because I think there was just a recent one. It might be 16 now. And the Rodecaster Duo has gotten 10 or 11. So as soon as the Duo came out, then it just gets firmware updates at the same time as the Pro 2 does. So they're still going super strong. I legitimately, I know there's, obviously there's stuff with NDAs, where if a company has you sign an NDA about a new product, you can't, you can't talk about it. I am under no NDAs with Rode. I've had no conversations. It doesn't mean there aren't any. They don't owe me anything. Like, they don't have to report to me. But I've heard nothing about a Rodecaster Pro 3. And I have asked, and I've heard nothing. There's no way, just practically, there's no way that in their factory and their design department that there isn't some kind of prototype device or something going around of what could maybe be an updated Rodecaster. I think, which again, I can be super wrong all the time, but I think the odds of seeing a Rodecaster Pro 3 in 2026 are very, very low. Because there's not really a need. There was a need, the Rodecaster Pro 1 could not do what Rode and users wanted it to do anymore, in terms of upgrades and features and stuff. So they needed a new device that could do that. The Pro 2 still does everything. I mean, there's stuff you could ask, I think a lot of the things that you would ask of it are things that I don't even know. They're either super niche that might not be worth it because a lot of users wouldn't use it, or I don't even know if it's, it's I sure wish my 3D printer was also a vitamin blender or something, where it's well, I don't know that's what it's supposed to do in the first place. So, I just don't think that there's, I think some kind of more, a bigger smushy device of Rodecaster and Rodecaster Video, that kind of a thing, there's more of a likelihood of something like that showing up than just a new Rodecaster. Because the other thing to keep in mind is when you buy a phone, think of how long your phones last now. I know some people get new phones every year or two, but you can use a phone generally for, 3, 4, 5 years. And it doesn't feel that different from a new phone that you get. Like, if you have a phone from 4 years ago, well, actually, yeah, this is an iPhone 17. My wife uses an iPhone 14. She's an iPhone 14 Pro, so actually her cameras are kind of better than the cameras on my newer phone. Otherwise, if you're just using the phone, holding it, using it, it's like literally the same experience, even though her phone's 4 years old. But people still, phones are something that people do expect to upgrade. I don't think people have the same, other than like enthusiasts and, niche situations, maybe like I and we run into here. Most people, I don't think, have the expectation of like ever upgrading their audio interface. They're like, I need something to mix my audio together, record audio, be an interface for my computer, whatever. They buy their Rodecaster Pro 2, and that's like the thing they expect to buy forever. It's like buying a couch. Like, I don't know, maybe down the line I'll need a new couch, but it's not a thing that's going to be on my radar for a long time. So I don't think Rode wants to go down the road of like every 2 years, here's a brand new Rodecaster, because I don't think there's a market for it. People like, there's the enthusiasts who will buy the newest of everything just because that's part of the fun. But most people, most customers, like once they've bought it, they bought it. And so it's better to serve them through firmware updates and features and stuff rather than like, here, buy another new product. My opinion only. How do you find time for all the things you're doing? Content, editing, husband, wife. It's... You should ask my wife, Heather. I am definitely like at the limit. And there's things like, I love playing my guitars and my bass, but, ideally I would sit for an hour or two every day and like practice the bass. And that does not happen. There's stuff like that. I'd love to make even more videos, but that does not happen. Heather actually just put together a whole thing for me because as you can see, my organizational strategies of notebooks and whiteboards, it is how my brain works. I kind of just like having the notebook, but it is what kind of worked for the channel back in like 2017, 2018, but 2026 going on like 5th plus year of full-time, it's not super efficient. And so she built this whole thing in Notion, which is like, she built a whole database of like literally everything we've ever made, both on like my channel, her channels, Instagram, all the stuff that's like searchable. And then a whole like pipeline workflow of like idea, video, editing, like what stage the video's in. Is it an unsponsored video? Is it a sponsored video? Does it have a deadline? Is there an invoice associated with it? Like all that stuff. So now I don't typically like digital tools for that, but this has actually been very, very helpful. I've only had that for the last couple weeks. So I've been tinkering with that. And the other thing is, which is funny, I'm saying this on a Saturday, but is actually trying to take time off. So my plan is, I'm doing the stream because I want to, because it's really fun. And I like really wanted to do it. But once I'm done with this stream, my plan is to try and disconnect and like actually take the rest of the weekend off and then come back to work on Monday. So it's really hard. I'm pretty good at time management just as a person in general, but like I'm not good at disconnecting. I have a tendency, I have in the past accidentally gone like 18 months without a day off. And because when your job is a thing that you enjoy and you work for yourself, like, sometimes it feels like, oh, I'm just going to tinker with this thing. I'm just going to work on this for a little bit and it's fun. But then you're like, yeah, there hasn't been a day that I've actually not worked in forever. So I'm trying to be more intentional about that. Yeah, I definitely don't have it perfected. What is your favorite printer? Favorite printer versus best printer is probably a different discussion. Of the ones I have, the H2C, X2D, P2S, I love all those printers. The H2C is the one that I can't believe I have access to because it's so good and so powerful. But if I had to pick one, for some reason I was in a weird situation where someone's like, you're only allowed one 3D printer, what do you take? I would honestly, again, personal thing, I would take the P2S because I love the simplicity of it and I love the I don't know, it doesn't make sense. It's not the most powerful printer. It's not the best printer I have. but it's the one I would take if I could only choose one of them. And that's super impractical. Will the next gen Rodecaster devices be separate audio and video or combined? I feel like they have to go to a combined thing, which like the Rodecaster video currently, I mean, I have mine right here. Yeah, the Rodecaster video does have, you've got audio inputs. Internally for audio processing, this has the exact same thing as a Rodecaster Duo, a Rodecaster Pro 2. Basically, there is just, since it got 2 inputs, there is just a Rodecaster Duo living inside here. The problem, though, is, which is not the problem. Like, this is a very intentional design, but I have to tell you, when Rode showed me this design, it's not what I expected at all. I was expecting kind of what we're talking about, like a smashed-in device with a bunch of buttons and things. And, you know, I think this was a smart way for Rode to go for their first real dive into video, and also recognizing people already have Rodecasters, people might have other audio things. They're focusing primarily on the video side of things. But I think for me, if I could have like the smushed in combo of everything that does 4K, that would be awesome. And I don't think I'm alone in that. So I feel like there's going to be something there. Mr. Robbie's here. What's up? Look at our world map. Well, now it's Mr. Robbie on there, but yeah. What string filament can I use on a 3D printer to print a drinking cup that is safe? I don't know that I would print. I don't think there are things like Bamboo's new PLA Pure. I think there are other like food grade filaments, but honestly, I would probably, a lot of filaments are not, what's it called? They're a little too porous. Like they will not reliably hold liquids. That's why a lot of like 3D printed flower pots and things are designed to like go around an existing pot and not hold the water and stuff themselves. So I don't think I would recommend using 3D printed stuff for actual like dishes and drinks and utensils and stuff. I don't know if it's practical, and I definitely would question if it could be safe or not. And probably just better to use it for other non-food related things in general, I think. My Rodecaster Pro 2 had the sensitive pads. I made a fix for it with my 3D printer. I love this. A simple spacer gasket sold on Etsy. That's awesome. Oh, that's so smart. Especially if you just didn't want to go through the hassle to replace it, or if for some reason they wouldn't. The people I knew who had the issue, which like when I say the people I knew, it was like people in comments and stuff or chats like talking. It wasn't like, oh man, I have like all these friends and everybody has broken Rodecasters, but it was just like I was making videos about the camera. I was making videos about the Rodecaster, and when it was coming out, if people had problems like that, they would comment on the videos. I feel like most people I talked to were able to get theirs replaced, but if they didn't want to or couldn't for some reason, because it is a huge hassle, that is a really cool solution. How are you? I am good. I'm enjoying my Saturday. Andrew just got a P2S and keeps having PETG prints fail. I had an A1 Mini and never had. I'm wondering how it's failing. Is it spaghetti? Is it bed adhesion? Like what's failing there? Pretty sure Frank said the Extreme won't do vertical. Well, he's the one who would know. So there could be definitely a limitation there. I don't know what I'm thinking of when I'm thinking of they said vertical. I must just be like hallucinating. I'm probably dreaming about like YOLO Box firmware updates, because that's a thing that would definitely be in my dreams. Is this the Professor Buck setup? This is my podium or my lectern from when I was a teacher. And well, you kind of saw, I don't know if you were here, Matt, but I showed my my normal desk that I use is here, and it's got a lot of stuff on it right now, including my water, which I should use. Sorry, I didn't mean to do the drinking sound with the mic, but I did. I didn't want to, I've been like clearing and unclearing that for ages, and I wanted to stream with the YOLO Box, and I was like, I have this over here, but this is kind of an awkward height. It's like too low to stand behind, but too tall to sit behind. So I was like, oh, this is, I don't know if I can, maybe the good old OBSBot can help here, but this is when I started teaching, or back in 2011, So I started teaching in 2010, but in 2011, a friend of mine who was also a teacher made this podium or this lectern, and he actually made it out of an old stereo cabinet. So like, you know, the old like home stereo systems with the glass door, like the kutunk. That's actually what this is. He cut the top off and then angled it down and put a little like, you know, stopper here. And then I put some shelves inside here to make it a little more practical. But it was just all brown. It was wood colored. And then I had it like this for a year. And then I painted it in the paint scheme of the the battle tram from the Aquabat Super Show. So that's pretty niche. And at one point I wanted to like, the battle tram is like the Batmobile. It's like an RV that the Aquabats in their show like travel around and, you know, fought crime and whatnot. Which I got to sit in it and go in the real one a number of years ago, which was super cool. But at some point, especially when I was teaching, I don't know, I wanted to like, I put wheels on this and I wanted to do like a remote control motorized, that never happened. Anyway, it's an old stereo cabinet that became my lectern, and since I stopped teaching, so I use this in my classroom daily for 10 years. It's funny because it just feels good to like, it just feels very familiar. I love it. But you know, when I stopped teaching, it's just been in our garage ever since. I've used it in a couple videos, and then yesterday I was like, hey, this would be the perfect thing to use for a YOLO Box stream, and it is. It's like, it feels really nice. If I had more space, I feel like I would just leave this in here. I don't know, maybe I will. I like it. It's comfy. It's fun. How was your experience with the Bamboo X2D bin? It has been excellent. I quite enjoy the X2D. I'm gonna pop up the map just so we can see where everyone is. Have I had any issues with the X2D? I haven't had any issues with it. It's weird getting used to like a Bowden extruder again for loading and unloading the second nozzle, but otherwise that's been a really good printer. I don't think I've had any single issues. I don't think I've had any prints fail. No, it's been great. It has been a great printer. It is a great printer. Let's see here. I turned my comic reviews into a 3-camera and my collection views for a 2-cam with the eMeet Pixie and the OBSBot Tiny 4K. But I'm trying to get a better workflow. I just can't throw money into a mirrorless. And that totally makes sense. And that's the thing too, is like, I have been a lifelong camera nerd. And so like me wanting a full frame camera is something that goes back to like over 20 years, you know, like when I was looking to buy my first digital photo camera with like a DSLR. I couldn't afford anything like that. But my first one was a Canon XTI, which actually my mom has and still works and she still uses it. And the idea of like a full frame camera was just always there. And I got my first full frame camera back in 2015, the Canon 6D, the original one. So there was a whole like personal story of full frame cameras and why I like them and why I wanted them. And I like the style and everything. And this is my full-time job. So it makes sense to invest in cameras and get the quality that I want. And in addition to it being something that I've just always enjoyed throughout my life. But especially now, it's so not necessary when you can get like, you know, what do I got here? I've got my, you know, my OBSBot Tiny 3 right there. You can get the, you know, the eMeet cameras for like $90. YOLOCAM S3. Like you can get, there's so many good webcams out there that like, they're not gonna get you this kind of like, you know, full frame, shallow depth of field look, but they're not supposed to. What they will get you is a very crisp and clear 4K image that looks awesome. And, you know, as long as you go in with realistic expectations, I think it totally makes sense to base a lot of workflows around that. And it's so easy. It's so much more affordable. You can get all 3 of your cameras for half the price of one of these lenses, you know, like it makes a lot of sense. And they're just so usable now. And then PTZ adds so much. It's cool. Gil's here from Florida. What's up? I'm on Gil's TV. Yo, where I belong. Matt has the X2D, and he has had overall good experiences, although I heard you had issues with the Pure PLA. Oh, Gil got the desiccant beads. Yeah, those have made a huge difference. Let me turn on my P2S and see what its humidity level is at. I have had people in the comments to my video about printer humidity tell me about different kinds of, like, I don't know if they're desiccants or other things. But I might try those just to see if they make a difference. But I've been happy. My goal was to get, for whatever reason, even though I'm in the desert, it's super dry. My AMS units love to hang around 45 to 50% humidity. And my goal was to get it under 25. This one right now is at 25%. So that's not bad. And I could probably, actually be curious to keep that on, see what it does through the rest of the stream. Are you using YOLOBox? I'm using YOLOBox Extreme, streaming in 4K 30 up here. For printing on a 0.2mm nozzle, do you need to switch the hot end? Also, I saw some Bambu Labs printer needing hot end replacement when switching nozzle. I'm not super sure, because I think that's beyond my area of expertise. What I know, I don't think so. The mechanism, at least for the ones I have, you can just take the nozzle out and swap it, and the H2C that I have will do that on its own, but it might vary by different printers. So I think for the printers I have, P2S, X2D, H2C, don't need to worry about that. Other ones you might need to change it up. And what about the A2L over here? Well, now I'm going to damage something. Okay, before I break anything, I'm not sure, but I think with a number of printers, no, you don't need to worry about the hot end. You can just swap the nozzles pretty easily. Thinking of getting a Bambu printer with a 700-pound budget to replace the A1 Mini. Should I get a P2S? Well, the Bambu sale, their annual sale, goes on for another 3 days. I think it goes to the 14th. So now would be the time. The X2D is not part of that sale, I think, because it was too new. But the P2S is $200. I don't know what that equates to in pounds. Several hundred cheaper, which puts the gap between them much bigger. So I think now, if you're looking for a P2S, now is a really good time. I don't know what Bambu's like sales timeline normally is, but I would imagine probably not a lot else until Black Friday, unless they permanently change the price of the P2S, which would be awesome. Hello from the UK. Just remember, if you say hello from in the comments, you'll pop up on the world map. And you can be as specific or as vague as you want about your location. You don't have to give your home address or your town name. You can say your country, your state, your town, whatever, or nothing at all. You don't have to say anything either. But if you want to pop up, there we go. Still loving the Lime Strat. Oh my gosh, this one. You should watch the video on my, I mean, Aubrey has, but this is my oldest guitar. This is my first guitar actually, from October 2nd, 2020. No, from October 2nd, 2001. 2001 was when I got that guitar. It's a $90 Squire Bullet, and it sat disassembled in a closet for 20 years because I was like, oh, I ended up getting another guitar a couple months later that was a little nicer. I like saved up some birthday, Christmas money and like odd job money. And I got an Ibanez, it's an IC120, which is like a tiny Iceman they made at the time. It was kind of a crazy guitar. It was really cool. So anyway, I thought, okay, I'm gonna I think I wanted to repaint that one because the finish that came on it was is a $90 guitar. It did not have great finish. It would chip, like if it got close to something, the finish would like chip off. And so I was like, oh, I'm gonna refinish it. Keeping in mind I was 16 years old. It was 2001. I had no idea what I was doing. And I just ruined it. And I took it apart and I was like trying to sand it stuff. And I was like, I'll get back to this. And so I put it in a gig bag in pieces and it stayed there until 2022. So, and then what I did then, I have a video on my second channel. It might even be the first video on that channel. About finally, I was like, I'm going to refinish this guitar. I put in new electronics. So the $90 guitar has like $500 worth of electronics, like upgraded pickups and stuff in it. And then I redid the finish, which came out great overall, except it does have some cracks, which like, They haven't continued to crack. It's not a nitro, maybe it is a nitro finish. I actually don't remember. Actually, it's totally getting more like checking. Isn't that what they call it? But it's not like going in a consistent pattern. Let me see if I can zoom in and show you. This is, this is the first time I finished a guitar, but I'm happy with it, and for $90. But here you can see some of the cracks. There we go. See, like here, how it's starting to get this pattern. What might happen over the years is more and more of the guitar will start looking like this, which if you're trying to be like vintage guitar person, that's a cool thing. I have a checked nitro finish, but I wanted mine to be perfect. I could refinish it, but it was such a freaking pain. I don't want to. And then the back plate is actually from an Ibanez bass. This is my first guitar. I got it in October 2001. On September 15th, 2001, I'm weird with dates because I can remember all these dates. I just can't remember which camera to look into. On September 15th, 2001, I got an Ibanez bass for like $100 at a pawn shop. And that was really my first like guitar. Yeah, I mean, it's a bass, not a guitar, but that was my first instrument. And I didn't know at the time. I was like, do I want to play bass? Do I want to play guitar? I don't know. Like, what is the difference? YouTube doesn't exist yet. I don't know. And anyway, that bass was cool, but it was never set up properly. The action was like this high, and it was, anyway. I ended up trading that to a friend, but I made sure to keep the plate on it because I just wanted it as a memory of my first stringed instrument. So anyway, there's that. That was the other oldest guitar I have is the one that's actually right behind my A7S III. Actually, believe it or not, every day my guitars get older. Crazy how that works. This one, as of next month, will be 24 years old. So I got this in August of 2002 with my first paycheck from my first paying job. When I started at TV Station 2001, I was an unpaid intern. And then in 2002, I got a job at a coffee shop that paid. And my first paycheck was $370, and this guitar was $350. So that's what started my Fender love affair, which I really like. So anyway, thank you, Obs, for bringing that up. I actually have been getting into riding my bike again for the first time in a long time. I was on a bike ride yesterday, and I was actually thinking of you. Because most of the time I ride my bike, I always think of Obs. Comic Reads got the original Rodecaster a month before the 2 came out. See, there are times when upgrades happen. Like I know people who are like, oh, I just bought the Osmo Pocket 3, right? And then the Osmo Pocket 4 came out, and it's like, you're fine. Like, the difference is so small, don't worry about it. The Rodecaster 1 and 2 are very different devices. The 1 is still excellent, and especially if you're using condenser mics with it, and you don't need a bunch of virtual channels, you're pretty good. But if you need custom routing, if you need, high preamps for dynamic mics, all that kind of stuff, the 2 just offers a lot. What's up from Phoenix? I mean, in Phoenix. I'm not from Phoenix. The Fifine makes more than Fifine stuff. And actually, a really cool thing was working on a video on this week. I didn't expect to like these as much. These are the Maono PD200. It's a 2-mic set, 200W. So it's $100 for one of these, $200 for the set of 2. But they're USB mics that are also XLR mics and also wireless. But the wireless part is just like the same thing for this, like for the the simple wireless units like I'm using right here. It's the same thing, except instead of a little lavalier microphone, you can use a full-on broadcast mic. I was going to use it today, but I figured since I move around a lot, I mean, this is actually kind of a sweet setup. I don't know. I'm not gonna mess things up right now, but I was gonna use that today. And I've been using that. What's cool though is you can plug that into your phone, and then you can use like a broadcast mic with your phone super easily. It's awesome. Oh, a DLNA, a Digital Living Network Alliance, is a set of standards used to share pre-recorded, locally stored media across a local Wi-Fi network. I don't have that. We have a NAS. Networking stuff is so like intimidating to me. It's something I feel like we need to revamp our home network stuff and our workflows. But yeah, it's intimidating. When you take into account a remote NAS, that's what we have, as it can take recorded media as early as 1 second before the live stream. That's crazy. That's crazy. There's something about paper and pen. Yes, I think there is like research, right, that shows when you write something down, it like sticks in the brain differently than when you read it or you type it, because there's something about that connection right there. And I just like, I've done all kinds of different ways of scripting and outlining videos, but lately I've been using just the notebook again. It's hard for me to get away from it. So usually like for videos, yeah, like here's my Rodecaster one. Here we go. So this is my fancy notes to outline a video, which is nice because I can just like hang out, have like a morning coffee, outline some stuff. And for the most part, my outlines are just check boxes. That doesn't mean this is going to be the whole video, but it's like, these are the points I want to make sure I hit. That's the same thing I do when I do outlines digitally. And if I go through all these points, I probably expand upon some of them. I change some of them. When I edit, I might edit them out. But at least the main stuff is there. And like, all the pricing is here. I can't remember all the prices off the top of my head. I have notes here about like competing products, right? So I can show like, okay, if we want to talk about the Mixcast, that had an MSRP of $499 and its last firmware update was 2023. So all of those things that I might want to refer to in the video are here. And there's something lately, in the past like 6 months to a year, I've become a lot more comfortable with just like, this is on the table with me in videos. Sometimes like when I use the prompter, I want to put this like out of sight where it's like, you don't see the notes. But in a world where there's so many people who are like going to just a chat bot and being like, write a script for a video about the Rodecaster, and then they just throw that up into a prompter and they just read a script that they may never have even read before they, started recording the video. They didn't write it themselves or something. I kind of like the idea of like, here are my messy notes on a notebook that came from my brain, and now I'm sharing these thoughts with you. I just sort of, I don't know, I like the tactile human part of that, which I feel like is more relevant now than it ever has been before. Sammy's here. What's up? I was just thinking about you too. Oh, I was playing the drums yesterday, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember when Sammy was like doing drum stuff too. Hawaii is a phone. Well, I don't know how to say it. I'm going to say Hawaii. I know that's not it. Is a phone brand. I don't know if you've heard of it, but if not, that's okay. I believe in Asia, that's like one of the most popular brands, right? Like they're super good. And actually, for whatever weird reason on our phone plan for T-Mobile, my wife Heather and I are on it. When we switched to T-Mobile a couple years ago, for some reason it was cheaper to get 3 lines instead of just the 2. So we've always had an extra phone line that has nothing on it, no device. I forgot about it. But I think I want to take one of my old iPhones and trade it in for an Android flip phone, like a folding flip phone, just for fun. Because I like having the PC and Mac OS, and I feel like I've never used an Android phone, but I feel like it would be fun to be able to poke around in that world and just explore it. And I really love the folding flip phone designs. Not the foldables; those are cool too. But I'm thinking of either the Motorola Razr, because I used to have an old Razr, or the Samsung Z Flip. But I found out that they're like totally sold out of that because I think Samsung's announcing a new phone in like a couple weeks. So I'm kind of waiting, and then I'm going to go to T-Mobile and see if I can get that. That would be my first Android phone. But the Huawei phones, I don't think are available in the US over here. Hello from the void. What's up? Hope it's a beautiful day over there. Gentleman Brian, I'm a teacher at a career tech school. That sounds awesome. And I teach IT. Our new curriculum now has content creation and equipment needed for YouTube. That's awesome. Yeah, when I taught digital media, our school had an IT program as well, but it was always separate. We never really... It was cool, but we never really overlapped. But it totally makes sense that they would start merging more and more. Hello from Atlanta. See? Boom. Look at that. Isn't that cool? It zooms in on a live view. I could zoom in more and just see what you're doing in your house right now. I'm kidding. That's not true. But yeah, if you say hello from blank, you'll pop up on the map over here, which is really, really fun. Have you run into any issues with a custom scene in the YOLOBox Extreme? I have 2 S7s and 1 S3. When I start it back up, the custom scene flickers. Oh, you know what? I've never had this issue until yesterday, but I only had it with actually these two scenes, the picture-in-picture scenes. Especially this one, which is like the YOLOBox itself, and then me in the corner. This was going crazy and flickering, but if I tap and hold on the scene and I edit it, it will then let me reselect the screens, and I can reselect the scenes, and then it's fine. So it's almost like I've only had that issue since yesterday on the picture-in-picture scenes like these, and it is resolved if I just reselect my sources once I reboot. So, yeah, I don't know. I know there was, I think I put in a firmware update on this like last week, so I don't know if that's connected or... I mean, I've done picture-in-picture before, but these are both kind of weird picture-in-picture because this one is the YOLOBox sending a signal to itself, so I thought maybe that was messing things up, and then this one is using the map as a source, so I thought maybe that was making things weird. Hey, M-Day, what's up? First full frame was 11 years after I got my first DSLR 11 years ago. Wait, would that mean your first full frame is now, or... it was 11 years after your first DSLR, which is now 11 years ago. That's, I think, weird. Yeah. Full frame was just something I wanted so badly, but I didn't think I'd ever, like... Yeah, when I got my first camera as a poor college kid, I wasn't, like... Spending the $700 on my Canon XTI was terrifying. So the idea of, like, a full frame camera, which at the time, like, the 5D... I don't even know the 5D Mark II was out yet, was... I don't know, was that $3,000? I couldn't even fathom having $3,000 period, let alone $3,000 to spend on a camera and not like life stuff. So yeah, eventually after like I became a teacher and, you know, I'd been doing that for several years and was teaching digital media, and it made more sense to like, at least it was a good excuse to spend some money on a camera. Then I got the 6D, which I had always like, I wanted the 5D, but the 6D was like the more budget friendly full frame one. And I ended up really loving it. And then I got the, which I still have, I got the 6D in 2015, and then in the end of 2017, when I was diving into YouTube more, I got the 6D Mark II, which just has autofocus for video and ba-doop-doop flip out screen. This was like the first full frame camera, I think, anywhere with a flip out screen. So as a solo content creator, that was a big deal. That's a good camera, still a good camera. Boop. Sammy likes full frame cameras and had them, but I really do like APS-C for filming most of the lenses that are used. APS-C lenses, especially stuff like the good old Sigma, like what is it, the 18 to 35, 1.8, so good. Just a big thank you for responding back, trying to help. Yeah, I mean, I like to try to help when I can. Sometimes I'm more helpful than others. Wouldn't it be great if the Rodecaster video supported data-driven widgets? Yes, I have a feeling... And I'm not being coy, like, I have a feeling that's coming soon. But I have a feeling that, like, Rode knows that, you know, and especially the comment thing is so popular and really important. Like, what would this stream be like if I wasn't able to do that? It'd be so much harder to keep track of stuff, to focus on things. If I just had to, like, look at the regular YouTube chat on my computer or my phone, it'd be so much harder. Being able to see the comments, organize them, favorite them, you know, pop them up on screen here. I mean, I can show you. You know, the way the YOLOBox handles comments is so nice. Same thing with Ecamm. You know, same thing with a couple other things that can do comments as well. The Rodecaster, as a more premium device, it'd be awesome if it could do that. Hello from the moon. Where did it send you? I don't know where it put you, but it sent you to somewhere on Earth. That's really funny. Where I put you? There must be a town called Moon or something. Screen Sanctum once in FX3. That's this camera. Do I need it? Absolutely not, but I want it. Yeah, I mean, I probably didn't need an FX3, although it has been. That was a good purchase. It's a good camera. Even 6 years after its release, it's a good camera. Hey Tom, I'm curious what you think about software microphone modeling. Do you think it's another way of doing EQ or something more? I'm curious what kind of modeling. Like I have, I don't know if you can see, but down here on the floor, this thing is my Line 6 pod that is like a a virtual amp modeler for the guitar and the bass and stuff, which like I have my amps, they're cool and I love them and I can run that into them, but it's like, it's really cool to be able to just adjust the sound in that virtually. It even has like, you can select like what kind of, you know, speaker cabinet you're using and what kind of microphone you're using and where the microphone is placed on the virtual speaker, which actually changes the sound. Is crazy. I love that. I think that's cool. So that kind of stuff I love. Yeah, I mean, the software-based mic processing and stuff is really helpful and really cool. I love the Roadcasters. Like, I'm not doing any processing right now. This is just the Hollyland Lark A1 into the YOLO box. But, like, I love... Oh, no, I want my backdrop. I love the Roadcasters because the processing is just built right in, and I know that I'm good to go as soon as it's done, which is really, really cool. I don't think my computer can handle 4K streaming directly in OBS. The Rodecaster Video does all the processing, right? Yes. All these types of things, the YOLO box, the Rodecaster Video, the ATEM, the GoStreams, all that stuff, they're doing all that processing there. And all your computer sees, like if I connect this 4K multi-stream thing to the computer's only going to see it as a webcam. So it's just going to think I have a USB webcam connected and that's it. Very little processing power needed. So far, I haven't seen another from another region where I live. Only ones I've seen are Southeast Asia. Yeah. We're talking about the map. Obs is looking for a bass. I thought you had a bass. I know we have similar Telecasters, but I thought you had a bass. Wait. That exact color was... Wait. That's right. I saw you in your bass, and you had that same color. Fender's done different versions of it. The Telecaster I had, mine was blue agave or agave blue, but they've done like similar versions of that color over the years with different names. And then there's always like the surf green and the seafoam green, which is kind of crazy because I'm looking and I don't know. Here's 3 guitars, right? I don't know if you can see this over here. These are, I think this is a seafoam green, and then these 2 are surf greens, or is that a seafoam? I don't know. 2 of these are surf green, 2 of these, and one of them is seafoam, or vice versa. They are all 3 different shades. So, like, I don't know. But green, turquoise guitars are things that I very much enjoy a lot. Matt says, my Rodecaster Pro 2 live stream was epic just for the record. That was really fun. I think that's like the most popular live stream I've ever done. It was when the Rodecaster Pro 2 was coming out. I had it early and I was able to just stream with it and answer everybody's questions. That was really fun. Some of this is Greek to me, but I'm determined. Yeah, I mean, keep in mind, a lot of what I'm talking about are things that I have spent a lot of years learning, and I'm only talking about a really specific area of knowledge that I happen to know about. Most things in the world, I don't understand and cannot talk about or answer questions about. But you want to talk about these very specific niche things, I can usually sometimes answer questions about those. Thanks for responding. I didn't realize it was a prototype for the Duo. I have the S. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it could be. I should email the person who made it and see if they're planning to put it somewhere. It's pronounced Huawei. Okay. I've only seen it on like some MKBHD videos. And that is how I say it. Huawei. Cool. You'd love Android. I think like, I actually really have been enjoying Windows 11. I'm like I don't know, apparently that's a unusual thing to say. And I really like Mac OS. I think it's really fun to not have to pick, right? I really love the YOLO box and I really love Ecamm. Like, I really like Sony, but Canon's great. Like, it's fun to not have to pick a thing. You just like all the things. And so I'm curious about Android, especially just the folding. It's so fun. It's so fun. Flip 8 is coming out soon. Flip series has a better build than the Motorola Razr. Okay, see, this is good to know. I have a Flip 7 and will most likely move away from it largely from battery. Yeah, this is what I've seen is like, it's not like the best camera in the world, but it wouldn't be my main phone. I just don't want like, I mean, I guess the benefit of a folding phone is it's this size, but then it becomes twice this size, right? That's the whole point. But the idea of like a little little flip phone. It's just, I don't know, it sounds cool. And it wouldn't be my main phone. It would be this, unless I ended up just loving it that much. But it'd be like a secondary phone. I don't know, a work phone. We'll see. I'd be curious. There's so many people from Phoenix in here. It's crazy. I'd be curious to know if, I forgot what I was going to say. Something about the phones. Yeah, I don't know. If there's going to be like any kind of promotions on them. Because I was planning like to trade in an old iPhone to get it, but it'd be really cool. Like, I don't know. You could somehow get it as cheaply or potentially free as possible would be awesome. Hello from Ireland. Been streaming for 30 days solid. Dang. Congrats on that. Really enjoying doing it. You get better the more you do. Absolutely. You're using Starlink. Please explain the mapping you're using. So this one is built into the YOLO Box Extreme. And it's very cool because all people have to do is say hello from blank and they'll pop up on the map. And that's awesome. I believe this map, this is a new feature to the YOLO Box the past couple of months. I believe the inspiration for this was someone named Aaron Parecki, who's a friend of mine who also does a ton of live streaming and is smarter than I'll ever hope to be. He has forgotten more knowledge than I'll ever know. And he does a version of this on his streams that must be browser-based. I don't know, if you go to Aaron Parecki's YouTube channel, somewhere in there he must talk about his maps. He must have a video, must do a thing. This is built into the YOLO Box. You'd have to buy the $2,000 YOLO Box to get to that. But I think Aaron, because he also has a live chat overlay where it's like you can pop up the comments, you know, like this, which is a Chrome browser extension I use with OBS. Is totally free. So I'm sure his map thing might be complex, but it's probably pretty affordable. Ryukin has been using Android since the 10.1-inch tablets and Samsung Note 2. I mean, Android's been around for, God, what, as long as the iPhone, 20 years at this point, almost? Which is crazy. A MacBook Neo? Dude, MacBook EO. First of all, hey, Mac, I haven't seen you in a while. It's cool to see you. Just in time for Apple to raise MacBook prices. I mean, it is kind of crazy. Apple did hold out as long as they did. But it's a bummer. It's always a bummer. Hello from Mars. Did it put you on the map? It did. Where did it put you on the map? Let's see where it says Mars is. I can't like control. I don't think I can control and zoom in the map. I'm trying to wait till it zooms out. I don't recognize these town. It put you in Europe. Okay. So it's no. Jupiter has Europa as a moon. I was like, Europa is one of Mars's moons and just put you in Europe. I don't know. Weird. What Professor Buck can't answer questions about quantum computers? He cannot. RAM, hard drive, components, etc. will come down if and when manufacturing comes online, but CE devices are not going to give back the additional percentage increase. It is a bummer because companies, we saw this during the pandemic, right? Like costs go up, so companies have to raise prices, and it's very rare. I think Blackmagic might have been a company that has done this, where then they bring prices back down when they can. It's super rare. Usually it's like, oh man, dang, we have to raise our prices. Oh well, those are just the prices now forever. So I don't know what the limit is on that for where people will stop buying stuff, but it's a bummer. Daniel's asking, was wondering what 3D printer you'd recommend for me to get. It was my first time 3D printing. Okay. Own personal opinion here, not objective stuff. I love Bamboo printers. That's what got me back into 3D printing. So there's a lot of people who are like, I don't like Bamboo and you should try this other thing. And it's like, I think what they fail to understand is for me, it wasn't like, oh, okay, it would be Bamboo or another brand. In my case, it was Bamboo or no print, Bamboo or bust. Because I was so sick of dealing with the tinkering that came with other 3D printers. Even my beloved Prusas, I was just like so tired of. And Bamboo made 3D printing fun again, and it is the company that they are the printers that I feel like a person with no experience can unbox and get up and running in no time at all and be happy about it. So I would recommend Bamboo. They have printers ranging from like $200-$300 all the way up to several thousands of dollars. So depends on your budget. The good old P2S is a solid beginner one that's currently on sale for $200 off. So that's kind of, I love enclosed printers. I'm looking over here. Sorry, I don't know if this is my chest. Hello. I don't know if you were at the stream earlier, but yeah, my P2S is just right here. This is so much fun. If you have the budget and you bump up to the X2D, you get some more features and stuff, and that's, I can't fault people for wanting that because it's a good printer as well. But P2S, especially at the current sale price, awesome first printer for sure. Mac, hello. All right. Have no budget at all and not for a hot minute. I feel like most people can probably relate to that. I'm the only person that likes Windows 11. When I got my PC, there were 2 channels, and I put this in my video about it. There were 2 channels that I used. One was called This Bytes for You, and the other was Linus Tech Tips. This Bytes for You really helped dealing with BIOS stuff and setting up the PC, and then the Linus video was, okay, you've installed Windows, now here's how to remove everything that makes it awful. And so I did that on day 1, which was all of the weird, the built-in ads, the helpful features, the Copilot stuff, all that bloat and stuff. I just ripped that out instantly, so I've literally never used it with that. And it's been great. It's been almost a year now. Next month will be a year. And there's things, obviously, like Mac OS, I feel overall is more polished, but there are things Windows does better. There are things Mac does better. I enjoy both, and most of the time I don't really notice which one I'm using. Most of the time it's just I'm using the computer I'm at, and I just have to remember oh, it's Control V and not Command V or whatever. So most of those pretty easy. If I recall correctly, Blackmagic once dropped the price for the 8 terabyte cloud stores because SSDs had gotten cheap at the time. I thought there was something this year that they lowered the price on. But yeah, it's super rare for that to happen. Maurice is listening to the stream. I think I'm the only person who isn't 3D printing. It is crazy how much overlap there is between the streaming camera stuff and the 3D printing world, and that makes me happy. So I'm not going to argue with it. Yeah. And also it's okay, just because don't fall into peer pressure. You don't need to 3D print if you don't want to 3D print. But you know what I do need to do is eat lunch because I'm hungry and I've been standing up. I don't have a watch that counts calories. I bet standing during a stream is burning significantly more calories than sitting. So this is like exercise. It's like you went to the gym with me. Thanks for the content you make. You've been very helpful. I appreciate that. I'm glad you're content with the content. And speaking of content, I'm going to go look at the continents that people came from. It's been a year. Yeah, I got the PC last August, so it's already July, and that is crazy. And I use that PC every single day. Honestly, I probably use it more than my Mac, because it's here, and I play a lot of games. I thought I was here. It's here, and I play a lot of games. But the Mac, obviously, I still use for editing and all my work stuff. And, if I had to choose one, I would choose the Mac because that's my, survival computer. But I really love having both. So I'm going to eat some lunch, and then I'm going to try to actually take some time off like we talked about. So, see, this is what Matt's saying. One trick to getting stable Windows is not buy the PC sold to the public because Dell and the other companies make money. Yeah, the PCs, you're not getting blank Windows. You're getting Dell's version, Asus's version, whatever's version of Windows with all their stuff in it. We did last Black Friday get my wife Heather she didn't want a big PC like this, but she wanted to play she's a bigger gamer than I am. And she wanted to play some Steam games and stuff with friends that just weren't working well on the Mac at all. And so we got I think it's an Asus gaming laptop from Walmart on Black Friday, $550. It's awesome. It works great. Big old screen, big old keyboard. It's awesome. But it came with Windows pre-installed. I just bought an SSD and put blank Windows in here, and it still had crap I had to rip out. And when she got hers, that was kind of the first half of that day was me going back and rewatching all those videos and getting rid of everything so that it functions, the same way that this does. And hers has been great. She's had it since November, no issues. She likes it. It's awesome. You're a great speaker and a great teacher. That means a lot to me. Thank you so much. That's the comment I'm going to go out on because that makes me happy. I think that's going to make my weekend feel good. So thanks again for everyone who popped up globally, which is super cool. We can go here. Oh, you know what? I can use this as the outro, I think, because, so yeah, appreciate you for being here. I'm gonna use a fun little feature on the YOLO box called viewer credits, and I'll put it over the map as we wrap up here. So appreciate everyone being here. I think I can even do some background music. Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna add in a background song. It's the one song I have loaded on here. Is it playing? It should be. Let's make sure our audio is not too loud. Background music. Let's turn that down. Okay. Got some background music going, doing some live audio mixing here. I feel like a DJ. Not really though. So thank you for being here. I'm gonna cut to the map. We'll let the stream end for a bit and then let everyone say goodbye or say where they're from. Hope you all have a safe, happy, healthy, fun rest of your weekend. Thank you for being here. I'll see you next time. Now we cut here, and now I can turn on the credits, and then I can turn off my mic and see everybody later. Bye, everybody.